Okay, back again with question of the day. We are going to be talking about Mac Jones and your thoughts on him. Sorry it's been a minute getting it out. I know that I haven't posted as much content these past couple of days. Just been a crazy thing with, my dog getting sick. She's better now. So for everyone, wondering about that stuff, that is the update. She has, we had to take her to the vet, but she's doing better now. Then we had like a whole ant problem, so I had to figure that all out. So been a chaotic, past few days. So that's why I haven't been posting as much, but nevertheless, let's get into question of the day, Mac Jones edition. Question of the day for tomorrow. We're going to keep this young quarterback trend going. I want to get all the main, rookie quarterbacks to talk about. So let's do Justin Fields next time. So what's your thoughts on Justin Fields? That's your question for tomorrow. Put that in the comments below. Give me a 1 to 2 sentence explanation as to what your thoughts are, and I might include it in the next video. But yeah, okay, finally, let's get to the Mac Jones of it all. I think Mac was great for the Pats as a rookie. He needs to work on his arm strength. He had the deep ball in college. Can it be translated to the pros? I hope so. If not, he's the 5 to 8 year quarterback, then fizzle out. But if he can produce, he can be wonders. I think of Mac Jones, I actually think his deep ball is fine. Like, he's not one of these noodle arm quarterbacks. Part of why I liked him coming out of college was I feel like a bigger armed Tua would be a, big asset. And so far that's kind of been exactly what I expected him to be. So I think that the arm strength, he's not Patrick Mahomes, right? But you don't necessarily have to be. I think it's definitely on the weaker side. There's no denying that. But I don't think it's like abysmal. And we've seen like Dak Prescott doesn't have a huge arm. Prescott's a little bit more athletic than Jones, although Jones is an underrated athlete as well, I think. So I do get the point about the arm strength. I'm not going to bank on him getting better at that. Like, I don't know if guys really do get better at that. I'm not, he's an adult at this point. I don't know how much stronger you can get, but maybe still to some degree. Mostly what I'm going to expect with Jones, though, just to kind of cut down on maybe some of the more mental mistakes that he had. Not that he had a ton, was a very good rookie. I definitely agree with that. Like, as a rookie, what you could have asked for. I think Mac Jones is forever underrated. As a Bama fan, I am probably biased, but his knowledge of the game is elite. Going from Mac to Bryce Young was a huge loss, and he won the Heisman last year. I loved what I saw from him on the Patriots last year, too. The film wasn't perfect, but I love the way he hangs himself on and off the field. I feel like he has a great mentality, love to learn, and will make the right read the majority of the time. That is true. He will make the right read the majority of the time. I can't speak too much to the Alabama stuff. I'm not a college guy. I'm an NFL guy. Watch some college for fun, and then obviously I dive into the tape during draft season, but that's pretty much all I do. So I don't know about the Bryce Young, Mac Jones comparisons, but what I can say is I do agree. Like, you're right, he has made mistakes. That's okay. We can bring that up. He did make some errors, but a lot of quarterbacks make some errors. That is something that happens. And you're right. The majority of the time, he was making the correct read. He was making the correct play. I'm reminded of that first Miami Dolphins game, which the Patriots lost, but that was, in spite of a good performance by Mac Jones, who did a great job of just putting the ball where it should have been. He spotted a blitz and threw the ball to where the blitz was to get guys to hit the open guy and move the ball down the field, and they lost due to factors that were not his fault, despite it being a low-scoring game. So I agree. He chose my comment. Also, Mac is good. Reminds me of a Tom Brady. Not saying he's going to play for 50 years and win 7 Super Bowls. Yeah, reminds me of a young Tom Brady. Sorry, I misspoke. Reminds me of a young Tom Brady. I'm not saying he's going to play for 50 years and win 7 Super Bowls, though. Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to point out. And first off, yeah, choosing your comment again today. Might choose it tomorrow, too. I don't know. But yeah. One of the things that I think is an interesting point to talk about is just because someone reminds you of a young player X doesn't mean that they're going to end up as that player. So you can make the young Tom Brady comparisons for a lot of players. Brady wasn't this guy when he was, 27, right? He still was winning Super Bowls, but, it was not quite the same thing. He was definitely more of a really good game manager type in his younger days. So that's why, another Dak Prescott comparison. When he was young, there was some Brady comparisons. And obviously, part of that was just how they entered the league, both being later picks who came in due to injury. So, and, had a lot of success right away. Prescott's regular season success, obviously Brady, both regular and postseason success. But But also just like, it's like, yeah, there were some comparisons. Brady has then obviously gone on to do a lot more better things. But I think that's a good point and good thing to bring up. In my opinion, Mac Jones, great value brand Brady. I know it's an overused comparison. We've already used it a few times here. But he's also good at putting his guys in position to win, but not going to wow you with his own talent. Yeah, this is one of those things too, right? Where it's like, it's the easy comparison to make kind of like he's a diet Tom Brady. But it's also like a pretty spot on one. So that's kind of why things get weird, is we don't want to make the easy comparisons. But sometimes the easy comparisons are easy for a reason. It's because people believe it and people notice it. And it's true, right? Cliches are cliches for a reason. And it's because they're true. Typically, not always, but typically. And I think this is one of those examples. I agree. Mac Jones is everything Patriots fans were looking for. A quarterback who can make an immediate impact on the field. In his rookie season, he already made the Patriots look scary, even though they lost to the Colts in the playoffs. I believe you mean Bills in the playoffs. Mac Jones has more tricks up his sleeve. And honestly, as an Atlanta Falcons fan, he is bound to win Offensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl MVP. He's literally Tom Brady 2.0. Mac Jones is going to be one of the scariest quarterbacks in the NFL. Yeah, so I was with you for a minute. I think that him going to win Super Bowl MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, which is hard to win for a quarterback because you have to be like above and beyond, because usually those go to like receivers or running backs. I think that, like, again, just because he had a good start to his career, I don't think he's going to be Tom Brady 2.0. I think that if you ask me if anyone's going to be Tom Brady 2.0, I'm going to guess no, just because most guys aren't. That's a really incredible thing to, incredible heights to reach. I do agree that he did play very well, but, and I agree, he was everything the Patriots fans were looking for. And I also agree that he is very scary to go, if you're a Dolphins fan, you're not feeling great about the fact that they have Mac Jones, just because, like, there is scariness of, it's bad juju. Another quarterback who had a bad draft day photo taken that made him look unathletic. Like, you just don't want to deal with that again. But just because it's set up the same way Brady has set up doesn't mean it's going to end up the same way Brady ended up. Mac Jones is going to be an elite game manager for a long time. He doesn't have the upside of some of the other young quarterbacks, but he might have the highest football IQ out of any of the young quarterbacks. Yeah, or at least like the highest. Again, I think we almost need like two terms for football IQ, right? Because there's like pre-snap stuff and then there's like post-snap stuff. Like Jameis Winston is a good example of someone who was amazing pre-snap, was always talked about as one of the smartest guys in terms of X's and O's. But then like when he was under fire, he just did whatever he could and like would throw the ball into triple coverage. So like there's a decision-making aspect as well, and Jones is good at both aspects of that. So that's kind of what makes him, I think, very good. And so that second aspect you can't really teach as much. It's kind of just more what you do when you're under pressure, which he's also very good at. And he was good under pressure as a rookie, which most guys aren't. So that's part of why he had such a good rookie season. And the reality is, if he can be a great game manager now, that gives the Patriots a chance to win a Super Bowl within the next 3 years. He's under contract for 3 years for cheap. He has a great opportunity here, and potentially something good could happen. I like Mac Jones. He's an example of how, in today's sorry state of college football, I believe we need to start putting more emphasis on the system a quarterback comes from and the comparison and the competition he played for. Mac Jones came from an NFL system, played against great competition, and applied it all while the Patriots last year. He may not have the raw physical traits, but as long as the Pats don't pull a Cowboys and pay him Jerry Jones money, they could win a championship with him. Side note, Matt Corral is my guy this year, in case you think I'm bandwagoning. I think there's some interesting things to talk about. Now, I'm never going to make a complete sweeping statement over just one player, right? Because, that's just not a big enough sample size to say definitively. But I do think that, I guess I don't know if I fully agree. I don't know if I care as much about, like, again, I've never really cared about competition you played for, because my opinion is if you can make a tight throw, you can make a tight throw. It doesn't matter, the window is still the size of the window, regardless if they're better players or worse players. But Mac Jones is someone who I think the system I probably would pay more attention to. That I kind of do agree with. It's sort of, are you hitting guys who are wide open, or are you hitting guys who are wide open because you're helping them get open, which is what Jones did in college, which, someone like, say a Trevor Lawrence, I think is a good example of. He was hitting guys wide open because it was just a super simple system, and all he had to do was hit the wide open guys. His talent's still there. I still have hope in him, but the reason why Jones was better right away is probably in part because of the system. So that part I will agree with. I think that that's an interesting point. Personally, I think Mac got ahead of schedule. I would agree. Again, incredible rookie year. The one thing I'm interested, though, is just because you're ahead of schedule doesn't mean that you're now going to continue to grow, right? I'll use my finger on the screen. I don't know why I'm doing it this way. But like, let's just say like the gradual increase is you expect the player to go from here to like that, right? That's what you're expecting, something like that. Well, the issue is if you start off right, if you're, right here, that doesn't necessarily mean you're still going to go up and be higher. You might just stay the same, right? That was a weird way to do it. I maybe could have just made a graph on Paint or whatever, but I think you get the idea of that is kind of how this works a little bit, is if you start off better, that's obviously good, but that doesn't mean you're going to continue to be better, although I would still say, the best predictor for future success is current success, so it's good that he's been successful already. So I hope that made sense. But yeah, that's what I think of Mac Jones. Again, get your questions, get your get your answers in for the question of the day tomorrow about Justin Fields. Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.